Sanders, the acting head of Customs and Border Protection, has resigned. And Hans is saying we don't necessarily know why.
We just don't have the connection confirmed.
But we know at the same time this growing outcry of reports over the living conditions, the despicable living conditions for children at the Migrant Detention Center down in Clint, Texas, where now there is a nationwide outcry that led to the transfer of almost 300 kids to other facilities. Eyewitnesses, like immigration lawyer Elora Mukherjee, says the situation is absolutely dire.
We met with children who crossed the border more than 3 weeks ago. Most of the children who I met with haven't had any opportunity to bathe or shower since crossing the border. There is no access to soap. There's no access to toothbrushes for the overwhelming majority of children who we met with. The children aren't being given enough food. They're hungry. The facility is very cold at night. Children have told me that they have had trouble sleeping because they're so hungry and they wake up because of the cold. These are the most appalling conditions I have seen in my 12 years of representing children and families who are detained.
Lawyers who visited the site tell NBC News that children as young as 7 and 8 were forced to care for 2-year-olds, some even younger, and that teen mothers wore clothing that was stained with breast milk. They say medical care inside the migrant center is also slim to none. The Texas Tribune writes, those attorneys say at least 15 children had the flu and described a sick and diaperless boy whose shirt was smeared with mucus, being taken care of by 3 girls, each of those girls under the age of 15. And this is not happening in Clint, Texas alone. The Texas Tribune says the conditions inside the nation's largest Customs and Border Patrol processing center for migrants in McAllen, Texas, also unsanitary and overcrowded. The paper reports migrants are sometimes, quote, forced to sleep outside a building where the water tastes like bleach. The New Yorker found many of the children reported sleeping on concrete floors. They were given a blanket, but some had to choose between sleeping on a blanket or sleeping under a blanket. The AP describes little kids that are so tired they were falling asleep on chairs. So to recap, children were left without a toothbrush, without a bed. They were left filthy, hungry, tired, and sick, and forced to care for one another instead of being taken care of in a taxpayer-funded facility. And Allie, we should just point out, even for those hardline anti-immigration people, it is not like we're not spending money. $750 a day
is what it costs.
Being designated is what it costs. So clearly it is not getting to them. One of those immigration attorneys was on with Chris Hayes last night, and she said if they reunited these children with their family members who are in the United States, the U.S. government would save $1 billion. So the argument that we need to spend the money on Americans, we're spending the money. It's just not being used.
Well, and we're doing something that, regardless of where you stand on immigration or the border, there's virtually nobody who I think thinks that we should be causing children to suffer this way. Joining us from outside that facility in Clint, Texas, is NBC's Gabe Gutierrez and NBC's Cal Perry, who's outside a teenage detention facility in Homestead, Florida. Gabe, let's start with you. You've got some news about the children who were transferred out of Clint. How many of them were there, and what's the latest?
Hi there, Allie. Well, nearly 300 children were transferred out of this facility. It was announced yesterday, but this morning we heard from CBP officials who said that about 100 have come back to this facility. Now, it's unclear exactly how many of those were previously here or how many of those are actually new unaccompanied children that are being brought here. But the fact remains is that at least 100 or so children are now back at this facility, which, as we heard, has had allegations of, overcrowding and allegations of filthy conditions. Now, we also heard from a CBP official who said that when it came to these civil rights abuses, these allegations of civil rights abuses, that the agency took these allegations, quote, very seriously, and they'd be referred to the Office of Inspector General. But at the same time, Allie, and we should note this, when that official was pressed about the allegations of children not being allowed to have snacks, that official said, quote, I don't buy it, and I personally do not believe the allegations, Allie.
We just played some of the sound from the lawyer you interviewed. What else did she tell you about the conditions inside the detention center?
Well, Ali, she says that, she's worked with two children, about 6 and 10 years old, that had previously been inside this detention center. And she said that they didn't have soap, that they didn't have toothbrushes, that they didn't have easy access to showers. And she says that at one point they got sick with the flu. And this also goes along with what we've heard from other immigration attorney and activists who say that there was even a lice infestation inside this particular facility. And this is all part of the larger context, Ali, which you have been reporting on about these overcrowding at these CBP facilities. Children are only supposed to be in these facilities for no more than 72 hours. And over again, we're now hearing from these immigration attorneys and immigration activists that they have been here for much longer than that, days, even weeks longer than that. So certainly a lot. This is the larger context that we now are hearing the breaking news about the acting CBP commissioner to resign now amid all this controversy out.
Cal, walk us through what you've been hearing from spending time in this immigrant community.
Yeah, so let's take the broader look at this now. When those facilities get overcrowded that Gabe is talking about, oftentimes kids will come to places like where I'm at here in Homestead. But this is a for-profit, privately run detention facility with thousands of kids in it. It's run by a company called Comprehensive Health Services, which is owned by a company called CalBurn International. It is the only one of its kind. Imagine a for-profit company running a detention facility for kids in America. By the way, a federal facility just across the street, so state officials can't get inside. They can't inspect it. It's not even certified here in the state of Florida. We are, of course, about 40 miles south of Miami, so politics are going to get wrapped into this. The debate is going to get wrapped into it. Candidates are coming here. They're trying to get into the facility. They're being denied access. The most recent
hold on
one,
a second.
Congressman, in our debate on Thursday. Yeah.
If this is a private facility,
yes, please,
and lawmakers can't get in, how do the kids get there? Who designates it?
There's no oversight. There is no oversight on this facility other than what the federal government chooses to do in this facility. And when you have kids inside ages 13 to 17 and you're looking for their point of contacts and you're trying to get them to their aunts and their uncles or their cousins or their brothers, how do I know that you're working hard to do that when you're running a for-profit facility? We had Congressman Swalwell here yesterday. I asked him exactly that. I said, what do you say to the families across America who are waiting for their family members? Here's what he said.
To the family members of the beautiful children inside this camp, I tell them, the people behind me show up every day and they care, and these children are not forgotten, and these children are thought about and cared about every single day. And inside Congress, there are more people than not who want to close these camps. We just need a president that would never allow a camp like this to exist in the first place.
Ali, Stephanie, you guys have been doing this for a year like I have, from Tornillo a year ago to this facility here. The U.S. government has said in court, quote, the reason that we don't have to abide by the Flores Agreement, we can hold children in there for more than 20 days, quote, this is a, quote, emergency and temporary influx center. Problem with that is this was opened March of last year, guys.
March of last year, but it's an emergency.
This company, let me just ask quickly, is this the same company that John Kelly joined the board of directors of in the last 6 months? Because he joined the board of a private prison. Is it this one?
Yeah, it's this one, CalBurn International. He was spotted by activists. These activists you see behind me, they were in Tornillo a year ago. He was spotted, John Kelly, was spotted on a golf cart running around this facility in the last few months.
Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.